Okay, so here's the thing. My premise for this video is quite simple, and that is that cancel culture just needs to end. It needs to die. It really does. See, I've been paying attention for years now at this point, and I've watched the way that people have behaved. And at this point, I'm going to say people because it doesn't seem to matter what side of the political, landscape a person is on. This cancel culture, this need to cancel people that you don't like and disagree with it seems to have infected the majority of people. And I know that a lot of it comes from Twitter, which is definitely not real life because majority of Americans don't have a Twitter account. But the people who have it, the people who utilize it as a weapon, the people who have been going around to try to destroy people's lives, like that kind of foolishness, it does need to end. It needs to end. So I've paid attention to the Doug TenNapel, Sean Gordon Murphy thing, and I'm going to take Doug TenNapel at his word in that he and Sean Gordon Murphy, they had a discussion. So, they'd worked out together how he would be able to, how Sean Gordon Murphy would be able to pull back and not do the cover of Bigfoot Bill 2, which is a little bit sad, but I do understand because, for Doug, you want to protect Sean Gordon Murphy's Murphyverse deal with DC. Now, I think, a lot of people have speculated and they've said, well, they didn't think that Warner Brothers or AT&T would really care because Sean Gordon Murphy was bringing in money. And I think from a business standpoint, it would, but entertainment has reached this point where the normal rules don't seem to apply anymore. And, I will definitely agree with people. The last thing that Sean Gordon Murphy should have done was apologize, because all that has happened is that they will take it further because it isn't about forgiving him. And, The Fourth Age is a channel here on YouTube, has a masterful video talking about the differences between a shame-based culture and a guilt-based culture. And, essentially, I'm a Christian, so I live more by a guilt-based culture, whereby if I do something wrong, I'm meant to acknowledge it. I am meant to repent of it. I'm meant to ask God for forgiveness. And certainly if I have offended somebody else, I will seek forgiveness from that person. And then we will put it behind us and we would move forward. Hopefully everybody being better people for it. Shame-based culture, of course, works as we see with this cancel culture, whereby you can go back to people's Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts and wherever they, I would even be surprised if people try to go back and see if people had MySpace accounts and, to simply see if someone had ever had a wrong opinion or said anything that people who are ready to cancel would dislike, and they would then use that to forever tarnish your name. And so that has become the place that we are. I'm still thinking about the young man in Iowa with the Bush beer, where essentially, they tried to cancel him because he had silly tweets when he was a teenager, as many teenagers do. And, because someone was jealous of the attention that this guy got, therefore, well, let me go back, and prove that he's a garbage human, as they love to say, because I want to, because I want to be the one who breaks that story. And because in a shame-based culture, you can never change and you must always be humiliated for the rest of your life because you can never be absolved of your sins. The only thing that you can do is to fall on the burning altar of progressivism and woke culture. And that essentially is the place that we've become. And this woke culture, and that's why I said it has nothing to do now with politics, because you now have people who proclaim themselves to be, conservative or Republican or whatever. And, personal feelings aside, personal politics aside, I want to look deeper at the condition of people and, and just like the ugliness that we are seeing. And, like I said, it wasn't fair for what happened to Doug TenNapel, but it isn't just the left that jumped on him, because essentially it was the left wanted to make Sean Gordon Murphy call him a garbage human being and, disavow him for supposed statements that Doug TenNapel said, about the LGBT community. Now, I have followed Doug TenNapel for a while. I am a Christian. I do listen to him. And, and it's amazing because a lot of the statements that he says, well, let's just be honest. I don't like when non-Christians proceed to tell me as a Christian what I'm supposed to believe. And I don't like when a non-Christian tells me that I'm a hateful person because of the way that they have interpreted the Bible, and they refuse to listen to what a person has said because they've decided that they know better because of their personal antagonistic behavior or antagonistic relationship with God. And so I know that a lot of this stuff that has happened with Doug has come from that perspective. Now, no Christian is perfect. And certainly, we are all human. So there are probably times when we say things that can appear to be not said well. That's a human condition. But this idea that he should be persecuted for his Christian faith, as if he should never be allowed in public. And this is, because I've seen this behavior. I've seen this behavior on both the left and, in this Comicsgate thing where some of them where they were applauding because they just didn't like Doug TenNapel. And that's a lot of where this video is coming with because, I saw the Bounding Into Comics article about Dan Slott. And, it amazed me that we're supposed to be upset about Dan Slott, saying, forget Trump supporters, and that essentially making the claim that, pretty much he hates you if you vote for Trump. Now, that's not new news. It's who he has been, but it seemed amazing that we're supposed to be upset by that, but we're somehow are supposed to applaud the Doug TenNapel thing and say, well, he was embarrassed because, and celebrate that simply because people in Comicsgate don't like him anymore. And this is where I say that cancel culture has gotten too bad. It's grown sickening. It has really grown sickening. Now, certainly as someone who loves to think and loves to problem solve, I thoroughly wish that there was just an easier way of dealing with these kind of situations. And, I kind of vacillate a lot of times because I know there are people who say, well, you have to fight back. But here's the problem that I have with the idea of fighting back. It has to be strategic. It has to have a purpose. It can't just be this person said this and I disagree. And it just can't be, trolling for trolling's sake, because, I'm seeing that too, where it's clear that people are making videos, talking about Comicsgate, and they're not trying to be reasoned as to why they're pointing out certain issues, or they're not trying to be reasoned against people who are leftist and are, where both sides are advocates at this point. Both sides are advocates of cancel culture, but it's really grown very difficult to know what to do, because in my personal life, I have had conversations with many regular people. And of course, regular people, because they are regular, they don't know that a lot of this stuff is going on. And when they see that it's going on, or they hear about the stories, they are horrified that it has been allowed to happen. And yes, I would definitely say that to a large degree, a lot of it has to do with the fact that it is our personal personalities. It's our need to not get involved in things that we, think that don't involve us. And that is how, that evil German guy in World War II was able to operate, because you had a lot of people groups who had the attitude of, well, as long as he's not attacking me, it doesn't matter what happens to the enemy. And, that is where the one saying, came into being, where first they came for this people group and I did nothing. And then they came for this people group and still I did nothing. And then they came for this other group and I did nothing. And then when they came to me, there was no one to stand by me, because this is kind of become a problem of humanity in a way. We have this attitude where we do believe that if it does not involve us personally, then we think that we shouldn't have to get involved. And that has allowed these crazies to come in and enact this cancel culture thing. And it seems a shame that it's only when it reaches someone personally, that they even want to have an opinion or even get involved. And yes, I thoroughly admit there's no full answer, because, you cannot ignore it. And I do agree with that. You cannot ignore it, because they will continue to move forward, but fighting back is also something where, how is that going to be strategic? How are you actively going to be able to fight back? What is that going to look like? Certainly, I understand, and I actually do feel for Sean Gordon Murphy, because I'm sure he had to weigh heavily whether or not he would stand by his friend, and say, and basically look at these other creators, one of whom, Tess Fowler probably has not met a bridge she has not been happy to burn. You're letting these small time creators influence, your actions and what you do. And so, I can understand the weighing aspect of, yes, these are people who may or may not affect, my coming deal. And, it's painful on all sides. It is very painful on all sides, because, these are the sort of things that has the potential to do much more damage. And, for me, the damage that is caused and, the lives that are lost because people feel like they have absolutely nothing, it saddens me, because of, the things that I see of cancel culture, the way that they push and try to encourage people to, harm themselves, to try to destroy their personal lives, to literally stalk them, and, and just, we are living in such a dangerous time. And part of why I need this cancel culture to end is because I don't think people understand the true, bomb that they're playing with, kind of thing, because this is the sort of thing that, when it goes off, not just the potential for destruction, but the ramifications would be massive. A lot of these same people who have been so okay with, destroying other people's lives, it will eventually turn on them because it always does. Because when you have a cancel culture that's literally built on you cannot deviate away from the cause, inevitably you will have that moment where you might think something different. And, that's really no way to live. And I guess for me, one of the things I feel is people need to start challenging themselves to start thinking these things through, to begin asking themselves not just what would it be like if it happened to me, but to basically just begin to see it from the other person's point of view. And I know that is a very hard thing, because one thing humanity is very good at is being incredibly selfish. I mean, we are self-centered, and so, yes, I say, though I challenge people, to look inside of themselves and to begin asking questions and to actually look through their belief systems and things like that. I know that most people will not do it, and most people will not do it because they will believe that they're never wrong, because the cause is always going to be more important than anything else. And that's a really sad way for people to live. So, because I don't really have any, I guess, solutions or anything like that, and this is much more, speculatory, I'm just going to end the video with that challenge. I mean, people really have to start thinking, and they have to start actually looking at their lives, and they have to actually start assessing, because I'm seeing, well, I guess I'll say this. How many people are really happy if they really looked at their lives and they were really being honest? And especially if they spend so much time on Twitter. Like, I spend no time now on Twitter, and I'm probably the happiest I've been in a long time, because I don't have to deal with a lot of that insanity. At this point, I will probably share projects that I find interesting, and I know I don't have a long reach or anything like that, but I do believe that staying out of the drama is definitely the best thing for me. And, I know that, staying out of drama is the best thing for me, which is why, I'm committing myself not to engage in the drama. I'm literally doing this because I do see a growing problem, and it's a growing problem that affects society. And because I'm someone who lives in society, I'm someone who is a creator, and I'm someone who is darn tired of seeing people's lives be destroyed, over, perceived wrongthink. I think it's time that everyone just take 10 steps back and begin looking at the landscape of their lives, and, essentially doing as, Christ suggested. Maybe we should start looking at the plank in our own eye before we start picking at the slivers in our neighbor's eyes, because cancel culture seems to be all about ignoring the giant planks in people's eyes. And that's where I'll end it. Okay, so hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do the bell stuff for notifications, share this, do all of that. And yeah, I guess I will see you in the next video. Bye.